new Laval Rocket head coach and Patrik Laine's former head coach, Pascal Vincent, shared some thoughts on Patrik Laine today, and it has a lot of Habs fans, well, let's just say pretty excited. We're going to get into everything he had to say, plus Dailyfaceoff did their rankings of all the best prospect pools in the NHL, and Montreal came out very, very high. And finally, a little note on Slafkovsky as he wins multiple awards for the nation of Slovakia in hockey. There's a ton of great stuff to get into, so stick around for this episode of Habs Digest, and we're going to start with Slav. And I love this, Jesse. I know you love this too for him. I mean, look, he is the face of Slovakian hockey at this point. Maybe not all time. There have been some fantastic Slovakian hockey players, as we all know. But today, Jesse, he won a couple of awards, including MVP for Slovakian hockey and top forward, which just makes sense. And we got some pictures here. There's him during his MVP speech. There he is, holding it as well. And here's his handshake, getting his best forward award. And Jesse, I know we got a lot of Slovakian fans, and I'm sure they'll be sharing their thoughts down in the comment section below, but how cool is it? How much of a privilege is it to have this guy on our team that not only represents Montreal and our fan base and our team so well, but also is like the face of his own country, as a celebrity over there, and just bringing eyeballs to this team for all around the world. Like, I'm just so happy for him because clearly he has such a passion for his country as well.
It's such a privilege because in his own words, he says he's just getting started. Like last year, he said, I just needed to start somewhere. But with those last 50 games, I was just getting started. He says he wants to be much better. Even last year, he says having just 50 games, good games in a regular season, that's not enough. I want to have 82 solid games. So this is just a kind of an insight into his attitude, his mentality going into next season. I'm just such a big fan of his brand of hockey. We see he's an elite company only at 19 years of age. Nobody as young as him in the range of like 20 plus goals, 30 plus assists, and then 150 plus hits. We see like the Xhekaj brothers in this line of territory. We see Trocheck, just a few kind of others, and that's really it. But we see like this is the type of hockey that wins championship. We saw this with Matthew Tkachuk just last year with the Panthers, where a guy who's able to score goals, assist, obviously, but then be physical and contribute to the game in that way that we know we need this in the playoffs. So being so young and already kind of being in this type of elite company, feeling like he's just getting started. You know what, Josh? Like, I feel like Juraj Slafkovsky is probably stronger than these Tkachuk brothers. Like, I think he's definitely going to get there, not already there. So for me, I think his game is just going to continue to go up.
I'm actually really excited to see a lot of the Habs-Sens matchups, not just because those teams absolutely hate each other and it gets really physical and people get injured every single time, but because Slavzilla is going to run wild, hopefully on Brady Tkachuk, because I mean, a lot of people were comparing the two for good reason. They do play a decently similar style, though I will say Brady goes hunting maybe for some more penalties, some more fights, some more scraps, and hey, I think that'll come eventually for Slav. He started to get into that this year, but you're very right. He's in very elite company, and not to mention, those guys you mentioned, pretty much everyone on that list that you mentioned is like a veteran in the league, or at least very established. Slav did it at 19 years old, so some incredible stuff. Really proud of Juraj Slafkovsky. Cannot wait to see what's to come in his next 50, next 82, next 820 games for Montreal. Let's get into the second topic of the video. We're going to get into this, and it's Daily Faceoff. So if you guys have been keeping track recently, different news outlets have been doing their rankings of some of the best prospect pools. I know The Athletic right now, and Corey Pronman, he's going through every single day. He's adding 8 teams, and it's the list of best kind of prospect, like kind of system, pipeline. Teams with all their prospects and all players under 22 years old. And he's going 8 teams by 8 teams. Montreal should show up on Thursday, so we don't know where they are now, but we know they're at least in the top half of the league. No surprise. But Daily Faceoff has done theirs today, Jesse. Now, this ignores players in the NHL, or like established NHL players. This is only prospects. And where do they have Montreal? Well, I forgot. I thought I was going to be dramatic. I thought it was going to cut right to the thing, but no, I had this picture first. Sorry about that. Dramatic effect is number 2. No surprise there. Montreal's near the top, and the only team ahead of them is San Jose. And honestly, I can't really disagree, especially after the addition of Askarov. But I think what sets Montreal apart, Jesse, and what we're going to see with that Athletic article is Montreal might have a case for number 1, considering how many of their good players are still under 22 in the NHL. With Guhle and Slav, they can make a big difference as well. But they basically just go on to say Montreal's been through a rough few years, but now they got Demidov. He's a future top-line winger, maybe center. They got a high-end goalie prospect in Fowler. They got Slav, they got Dach, they got Caufield, Newhook, Guhle, Xhekaj, all 23 or younger, and Suzuki's 25. Montreal has set things up so unbelievably well for the future. They jumped up from 9th to 2nd this year, and that's in large part due to Demidov, and I assume Xhekaj as well, and maybe some of the progression they saw from Hudson this year, maybe Reinbacher. But yeah, The fact Montreal is right at the top of these lists alongside San Jose, plus the amount of players they already have that are young producing for them, it just, again, I feel like every day we talk about how good it is, but this is unreal.
And we have the proof right here, like second in prospects. But like you said, with all the young, good players already on this team, so young, so skilled, we have to feel we have the best young core of players in the entire NHL. And the reason for this is like, there's no big kind of secret. Like to get to the top of this list, you need to have a really good star guy on defense, and then obviously a solid goaltender. And we see the Habs have all of this. And when we kind of review this in hindsight, it gives a little bit of an insight into the Habs drafting and what was really important. Like for sure, they could have done a Demidov and Michkov in consecutive years, but you're still kind of missing out on that star D-man. Like Hudson, I know is there, but that's almost like found money, right? Like when you have like these complementary and also different players together, like Demidov, Hudson, Reinbacher, Fowler, obviously different positions, but not just that. It's like, Reinbacher and Hudson being defensemen, but they also play a different style that's very complementary to each other as well. And I think that is so important for roster construction as well. So it kind of gives the overall vision. Kent Hughes knew this going in. This was his vision, and this is what we're having as a result.
They've executed every single step of their vision so far, and I know not every single member of this young core was a Hugo draft pick or whatever, but most of them are. And the fact that they're, again, executing at every step, building this roster from the ground up, like, just in terms of players 23 or younger, let's not even count Suzuki. Let's say you put, Demidov there, and then you got Caufield on the wing, and then you got Slav on the other wing, and then you still have Dach and Newhook for that second line. Your pairings on defense is like Guhle, Hudson, Reinbacher, Xhekaj, Mailloux, and then in net, you still got Fowler, you still got Dobeš who counts. Like, so many guys. Like, these guys are not going to hit their prime for another 5 years, so everything's been so good. Let us know your thoughts down below. Should Montreal have been number 1, or are you pretty happy with number 2? Can't wait to see what The Athletic has to say. Final thing, though, for this video, Jesse, we got to talk a bit more about Patrik Laine, and this is some huge praise, and we were actually really eager to see what Pascal Vincent had to say about Patrik Laine. We've been waiting for this for a while because, of course, in Columbus just last year, maybe even some time before, Pascal Vincent and Patrik Laine, it certainly seemed like they didn't get along. There were a lot of rumors, things going around, Laine not playing very much in certain games. Some people said it's because he was tired and he asked Vincent to take time off. I don't know. There was a bunch of rumors and stuff, but what is definitely not a rumor is what Pascal Vincent had to say today on BPM Spal. He said that Patrik Laine is the most talented player that I've ever coached. He can do whatever he wants on the ice. That's a translation. Feel free to translate that on your own if you don't believe me. But Jesse, I had a look. I was like, who did Pascal Vincent coach? So I went to his coaching profile in HockeyDB, and let's just pop it up here. He coached some pretty good teams. Not as a head coach, of course. His only job as a head coach was last year with Columbus, but he was an assistant coach for the Blue Jackets for 2 years before that. Manitoba Moose, who had plenty of good young players and very talented players in general. And then not to mention the actual Jets organization and some QMJHL a bit before that. But that's the thing, Jesse. You have the likes of Kyle Connor. You got the likes of Mark Scheifele. I mean, you even have Connor Hellebuck probably. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that timeline works out pretty perfectly. So it's like you got some of the best players in the world, and for him to say that Laine has the most talent of all of them, I mean, look, I know he's not going to come out and say, oh yeah, I really don't like him. Like, that's not how this is going to go. But still, that is a glowing review from a guy that they just brought in, and maybe they knew something beforehand when they brought him.
Yeah, you can't get more praise than that, saying that he can do whatever he wants in the offensive zone. And when you watch the tape on him, Pascal Vincent, no word of a lie on that whatsoever. Not only does he get into the offensive zone easily, and speed again being a big key thing for Laine and doing that, but once he's in that offensive zone, a lot of time with that size, that skill, he can do what he wants. He has so much confidence in his stick handling abilities to kind of be able to needle through two players, so seamlessly in the offensive zone. Like, this guy definitely is the real deal, Josh. And I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I don't know. I'm just feeling it. Like, if Patrik Laine gets off to a hot start here in Montreal, I see him being with the Montreal Canadiens. I see him getting extension after that 2 years. I see him potentially having the opportunity to stay with this team for a long time. If you're looking from Patrik Laine's end, it's like, if he's able to get to a hot start, kind of resurrect his career, you have to feel like he's tired of moving. He kind of wants to shake that reputation, right? Like, I think he kind of wants to spread some roots here in Montreal. So this first year is going to be key in really determining how that whole relationship will go. But don't be surprised if this first year really goes well. I think that could be key in really Patrik Laine being a long-term member of the Montreal Canadiens.
I think there's a few factors at play here, and I think I think he's in a prime position to have an amazing year. And I know a lot of people continue to criticize his defense, and for good reason. Like, I mean, you watch the tape, that's not his strong suit. But Montreal now has a bit of a history of getting players to develop their defense, whether it was sending Xhekaj down to the AHL or focusing with Caufield coming off a shoulder surgery. Look at the strides he made in just one off season. There's a world where Patrik Laine can really improve if he really puts in the work to do that. And I think he very well could. When it comes to signing him long-term, Jesse, here's kind of my take on that. Like, if he has a good season this year and next, like even good, right? Like we're talking 25, 30 goals, maybe 60, 70 points. If he's doing that, you're going to try and re-sign him as much as you possibly can, right? I think the question comes down to what Montreal would be comfortable giving out long-term, because at that point, you're going to be signing a 28-year-old to what he's probably going to ask for like 5, 6 years. If not, maybe some teams would try and offer him maybe 6, 7. So the question then becomes, like, how much would you be willing to give him as the Montreal Canadiens, as a team that's trying to build up with a lot of young guys, versus how much he could get on the open market? And is that gap, like, because Montreal might offer less, but the thing is Montreal's culture might be way better for him. Maybe he falls in love with the city. Is that gap in money going to be enough? I think there's a lot of questions on that front, but Jesse, like, in your mind, like, if he has a fantastic year or two, even if he's a little bit injured, I would be calling him every single day to try and get a somewhat bargain extension, just to have this guy locked up long-term, even if it's a bit of a risk.
Yeah, maybe not waiting ahead of time to do that is the smart play. I know we talked about it a little bit. I'd maybe want to wait like a year.
Oh, yeah,
year
for sure.
and a quarter. But if we're able to get to like that year and a quarter, I know we're on the same page, like that would absolutely be amazing. But like if this guy comes and scores 40 goals next year, he is well worth that $9 million plus that we're paying him. And you feel like you're just getting a second round pick for then signing a good player. The only risk is if he lives up to that. But this very well could be what happens. Almost not talked about enough. Like if he comes and performs, he's going to be worth every single dollar of that contract. And we're putting him in a position every opportunity where they're going to want him to live up to that money. So they're going to put him in a position to succeed, to light up the lights at the Bell Center and get everybody real excited. So for me, I'm thinking that things are shaping up where they're really going to want to put him into a good position. For me, like Patrik Laine is going to appreciate that a lot and maybe want to reciprocate that with some type of longer term deal.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really cool. I'd love to see what goes down, because obviously there's so many question marks surrounding that. Number one is how Laine is going to end up playing in Montreal. But I think maybe I don't even want to say cautiously optimistic. I am optimistic without any form of caution. I am just getting so ready. That's our brand. We're so excited for this team. Love what is upcoming this season. Let us know down below. What do you think about Pascal Vincent's comments? And do you think that Laine could be in for a long-term extension? I think if he plays well, he very well could. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching every single day. The support has been unreal. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.